As we reported here on Friday, investigators in Ukraine are uncovering hundreds of bodies, including those of children, in mass graves in eastern Ukraine. Leaders from around the world are renewing calls for a war crimes tribunal in the eastern city of Izum, where so far more than 400 bodies have been exhumed, many with signs of having endured torture. The discovery comes after Russian troops retreated in recent weeks after a 6-month-long occupation of the surrounding areas, as it has done in the past. The Kremlin today is saying that these atrocities are a lie, while Russian state media has likened the accusations of torture and killing to Nazi propaganda. Our next guest knows a lot about misinformation and disinformation that Russia has and continues to peddle as a tool of war against the Ukrainian people in the West. In her new book, The Fight of Our Lives, My Time with Zelensky, Ukraine's Battle for Democracy, and What It Means for the World, journalist Yulia Mendel, Zelensky's former press secretary, tells us what it is like to work with the man who is now trying to keep Ukraine free and independent. Yulia Mendel joins us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell me what the true status of the war is today. I know there have been some incredible gains, but there is still a lot of very difficult fighting and a lot of need for continued military assistance from the U.S. and the West.
Well, you're absolutely right. Ukrainian army has done absolutely amazing counteroffensives, regaining back the Ukrainian territory that had been taken by Russia after February 24. So many Ukrainians are celebrating these achievements because we are proud of our army and because the whole Ukrainian people, we are like one organism, united organism. We're trying to fight this Russian disease, Russian invasion. At the same time, my heart is absolutely bleeding when I read this news and when I understand how many horrors the people were going through, how many people died for nothing in absolutely terrible conditions. And we are really afraid to understand how many bodies and mass graves and torture cells we will find more when we deoccupy other territories from Russian army.
Yulia, when I read these reports today, I thought of Putin's awarding medals to the Russian soldiers who carried out the atrocities in Bucha. And I wonder if you think that the story will change, that they won't deny these atrocities at all in the long run, because this is one of the Russian hallmarks of the way they wage wars.
Well, this is exactly the story that you mentioned. This is the story about the importance of the information, because Russia weaponizes information to undermine the democracies and actually to lie to its own people. That's why the Kremlin justifies all those atrocities and wars around that it has been doing. Like in my book, The Fight of Our Lives, I'm explaining how Russia was testing all those information attacks and weaponizing the word to try to divide Ukrainians and to try to justify horrible things that they are doing. So they are trying to divide the societies in democracies by using the biggest societal traumas, by using emotions, by using fears, and trying to engage people in some conspiracies. So the societies become weaker, and actually Russia can implant its own narratives there. This is exactly what's happening in Russia. They are awarding those people who were actually doing the awful things and who need to go under tribunal for war crimes in Ukraine. And we really hope that they will sometimes in future sit under the court and the Russia will be accountable, because this is about justice.
Yulia, what do you write about President Zelensky? What do you know about him that, even though we admire him so much from a distance, we don't know because we don't see him up close?
Well, in the book, I explain how a person from an entertainment business turned into a statesman, and after a statesman, he turned actually into a war leader for the reason, that he needs to defend the country, and he's done something amazing for which he is prized all over the country. He stayed in the country in the most important and crucial moment when his own life and life of his family was under the threat. But let me explain you that in my book I'm telling about multiple trips of Volodymyr Zelensky to Donbass that Russia had invaded back in 2014, and there were already a lot of military actions, shelling, you know, and everything that we see right now in large scale, on large scale. And, you know, he never was afraid to go to the front lines just to handshake with the soldiers. And even if there were some shelling, and even if his personal security was against him going to the front line, he still was fighting security and going back. He was saying, which leader am I if I'm leaving my soldiers, my people, to stay there when there is shelling? So when I've heard that he did not want to leave Kyiv and that he would stay with his people during the wartime, I understood. I was not surprised. I understood that that was very common for him.
We went the entertainment route here in America, and it turned out very differently for us, needless to say. I want to read some of what you write in your book. This is from page 205. Ukraine is resilient. We are facing the greatest test and are determined to show our strength. If some of us die in this struggle, others will be born with the same honor and the will to defend. We are always at the point of beginning. We Ukrainians will never give up, not to Russia, not to terror or any other evil. The spirit of freedom cannot be conquered by centuries of slavery, or by decades of abuse, or by murder, or by cynicism. I have always believed in Ukraine, and I always will. The first time I read it just now without crying, but where does that faith come from in your country?
I'm a new generation of Ukrainians, and though I was born at the end of the USSR, still I enjoyed the development of my country as a democratic country, and I know that 90s were very hard for us, but we know right now how much we achieved. And I'll tell you the story that I've got a call from the occupied territory to a close person whom I know, and this person told me, you know, probably we saw some bad things in our life, but then when Russians came and they started stealing our toilets and our washing machines, we understood how much we achieved. And this is very important because democracy and market economy provide opportunities to Ukraine to thrive and to grow. That's why, you know, it's very irritating for Putin, and that's why the biggest autocracy and one of the most aggressive and unpredictable leaders in the world is fighting us right now. We're standing there for values. We're standing there for something that we believe in. We're not just fighting for the land. We're fighting for our homes. We're fighting for our families on every sphere. And I believe that Ukraine will win because this is the country that I belong to. And this is the country that, you know, I dream to see as a thriving, prosperous, free, independent in the future.